encounters at the border. So something's got to change, and it can change. And I'm in Congress, so I'll be pushing for it.
I will obey. So, the first thing we have to do is beat the Democrat that's in this seat. That's the very first thing. That is what our responsibility is as whoever we are up here running for the 7th Congressional. We have to beat the Democrat. Otherwise, we don't have a seat at the table at all. I served in the Army. I am the only person in this area here who has served on the armed forces. I served in the state legislature for 6 years, and as a Democrat, when I was in the state Senate, I voted along with my Republican colleagues to kick out illegal immigrants and give them to ICE. That is rarely done by anyone because it was right. And why was it right? Because I went to the legislature, because my children, my neighbors, we were covered with gang problems. Our children in the neighborhood, kids that went to my kids' school, were recruited by organized crime to be in gangs. You've heard of MS-13. In Central America, MS-13 is the most dangerous gang there is. It's the reason that people are coming across the border. And then everyone's feeling sorry for them. Well, I feel sorry for them, but who caused the problem? Our immigration policies caused the problem. We have let anybody and everybody here without money, as Mark said, slavery, and we don't let mamas who are illegal call the police so that they can get their child not to be a part of a gang, so they can help get rid of gangs. People are trapped here. They come here because the candy store door is open, and there's no candy inside one day. Or there won't be.
Do you support energy independence?
Well, first of all, thank you for your service, Mary. You should be very proud of that. And yes, we should be energy independent. And I'm all for energy alternatives. Fossil fuels are finite. But currently they're not affordable or accessible. So that's a problem. Before the Biden administration, a lot of the soaring gas prices trying to force us into that, but they're not providing alternatives for it. And yes, I would like us to be energy independent and extend that to more green energies, solar energy, wind energy. But like I said, we need to make sure that it is accessible and affordable. I don't know about you, but I can't afford a $60,000 electric car. And I don't know how many of you that can. But now look what's happened. Biden is blaming Putin for our high soaring gas prices. Okay, if you remember, they were high before what happened in Ukraine. So we can't accept that. We know what the gas prices were before that emergency. And now we're looking to Iran and Venezuela, other communist countries begging for oil. Iran wouldn't even take his call. So, I don't think we should be put in the position of having to beg for energy. And absolutely, we should be energy independent. Thank you.
A year ago, a little over a year ago, we were energy independent for the first time in my lifetime. And with one stroke of the pen, on day one of his administration, Joe Biden put an end to that. When he closed down the Keystone Pipeline, when he stopped and handcuffed our coal and fracking industries. What's going on in the Ukraine is a direct result of what he did on his first day of office with that executive order. Of course we should be energy independent. And as far as future ways to create energy, absolutely. It's called free market capitalism. The free market will determine where we go. If you want an electric car, great. They'll become more and more available. That's what free market does. But to think that we're going to Solyndra. Everybody remember Solyndra? You want more of those boondoggles? That's not smaller government. That's not being able to be fiscally responsible. Energy independence gives us a chance to preserve our national security. This is a national security interest right here that we have. And we've got the wrong guy leading the show, and we've got a congresswoman who's right at its hip.
Hey, Mark? You guys can hear me, right? I don't need to yell. Okay, just want to make sure. So energy independence is my top priority. Right now we're seeing a major issue with why. We don't have a roadmap in place for renewable energies. You can't buy an electric car that's affordable, at least most middle or lower class. You can't find EV charging stations to take a trip. So, what is your option? Buy gasoline. If we don't become a net positive consumer and exporter of our own gas, we'll always be at the mercy of our allies and worse, enemies, like we're seeing today. So I propose, and what needs to happen in Congress, is that until there is a vetted and sustainable renewables plan for the short and long term, we will remain net positive in both consuming, production, and exporting of oil and natural gas. That is the only way that we can make sure that we stay sovereign and do not keep ourselves beholden to allies and enemies. We're seeing that today. We're begging other countries, and we're all feeling the burden at the gas pump. So it is a huge, huge issue, and we're all feeling it right now. Thank you.
It is a security issue, and the majority of our military equipment, all of it in fact, runs on diesel or gas and oil. How many times have I done protective maintenance checks and services? Anyone in the military remember that? Where it doesn't matter what your rank is, you have to take apart a vehicle and put it back together, and you're lubing everything. Well, gas and oil does that, and if we want to protect our country, if we're going to ever help protect our NATO people that we're with, CETO, whoever, whatever allies that we have to have gas and oil. Our strategic reserves must be filled, and we must restart the Keystone Pipeline, all of that. But I am not a wind power supporter. I am not a water power supporter. Because when I first got elected to the state legislature, I went and I examined all our electrical power grid, our nuclear power, everything. Water power is pathetic. It's kilowatts versus gigawatts. That is a significant difference. Wind power, it's roughly the same thing. And those pieces of equipment do not operate properly. They have to be lubricated. They have to use gas and oil to keep them going and build them. That's ridiculous to think that this is some sort of panacea. I am a nuclear power supporter. The old nuclear power reactors do not exist anymore. There are new nuclear reactors. There's smaller nuclear reactors, and we have to be a nuclear country. Nuclear waste is a problem. I brought my young man over there who's going to help me with the nuclear waste problem, because this is America. We can fix anything.
I actually agree with Mike. Net positive. I actually agree with Mary about nuclear. But honestly, how many times are we going to talk about this in each election cycle? I mean, really. I mean, when we had the supermajority, we had the presidency, we had Congress, we've been having the same issues. I think people are just sick and tired of talking about this stuff every single doggone cycle. What we gonna do? What we gonna do? What we gonna do? We got the answers right there. Keystone Pipeline, open that bad boy back up. Stay net positive. Nuclear. But the problem is, all these people talk, But when they get there, they don't do anything. That's the issue. That's the problem. We gotta have somebody brave enough to actually do what they say they're gonna do. Not sit here and lie to you and say, oh, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And then when they get up there, they fall to the pressure of what the politicians are doing and what the establishment is doing, and then they do this on you. They turn your back on you. I mean, I'm just sick of hearing it, honestly. I am not a politician. Obviously, I'm not. I'm somebody who has grown up with these issues, and I'm up here looking at moms and dads struggling at the gas pump. I saw one lady crying today because she had 6 kids. I beat her because I got 7. But she had 6 kids trying to fill up the tank. And she was like, when the hell somebody going to do something? I'm sitting seeing these Biden did that. Where the hell are the other politicians? How come they haven't done anything? So we have the answers. My answer is real simple. You seen me. I'm not afraid to do exactly what needs to be done. I don't care what these people say. I don't care how they threaten. Because politics is deep. It is dangerous, and that's why they don't do anything, because they're scared. I'm 6'2", 280 pounds. I ain't scared of nothing. And if they kill me, they send me to Jesus Christ, and all I want to hear is, well done, good and faithful servant. So I don't care. I ain't going to sit here and give you no speech. I'm just going to tell you what I do. I'm just going to do the damn job.
Mark, you're up. So this is a regional question. What is your plan for South Gwinnett? Also, when do you plan on making your presence known on this side?
Well, a congressman takes care of federal issues. So as far as that particular question, I would leave it to our state legislatures and our local political leaders to be able to solve the things that you're talking about. As far as that particular question, I've been to 75 events since the beginning of this year. I've been up, down, top, bottom of this district. I'm out every single night, usually multiple times a day. So for somebody to ask that question, are they being like Joe Biden and spending time in their basement? Because I am literally everywhere.
No, I don't. Very familiar with South Gwinnett, just being a Gwinnetian my entire life. So I'm familiar with that area, and I'm familiar with the demographics and socioeconomics and how things have changed. I've always been in West Gwinnett for the most part. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to get out and about, like Mark does. I'm still working. So I would love to get out and about and learn more about the people that live in South Gwinnett. So yeah, it's important. I think, we're one district, we're one county, and, we need to make sure that, whether you're a state representative or you're at the federal level, the entire district is represented as a whole. Because this county is very diversified. I mean, you can take a drive across it. We all have, right? So we do need to focus on all parts of the county. And if people do feel neglected in that area, I don't know if I can say I blame them. But, is it 100% responsibility of a federally elected official to represent their entire district? Yes, I think it is. And yes, when I am in Congress, I will be on the ballot. We'll have more time, but have not been out there canvassing. But I do know that there's a major difference between different parts of this county. Not ignorant to that fact. So, hope that answers the question.
So my plan for Gwinnett County and for the rest of the district is that I'm actually going to be starting on the gang activity because it's back. And it's back because of the border problems. And it has also encompassed this part of the county. This area that we're in right here is called the Heroin Triangle. In law enforcement, the Heroin Triangle is above Atlanta. It goes from Marietta, you facing it, Marietta, over to Gwinnett County, and above Johns Creek. It encompasses the whole top part of the 7th Congressional District as far as the Heroin Triangle is concerned. Now, where does this heroin come from? It's heroin in the form of fentanyl, and it's being trafficked not just from South Gwinnett, from DeKalb County, where the DAs don't care about gang violence. They won't prosecute gang leaders. From Fulton County, where they won't prosecute gang leaders. Now, from a federal perspective, you can cut off some money to people who are not helping you, because the dollar starts in your pocket, but it starts legislatively in the House of Representatives. And if that sounds like a threat, it is, because I do not want this area to be destroyed by crime.
Excellent question, and I'm happy that question was asked, because a lot of folks say that the GOP has thrown this district away. A lot of people, when I'm in the district, and I'm not going to talk to you, like I said, as a politician and put some promises of what I'm going to do when I get to Congress. To hell with that. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing right now. Yes, it is the responsibility of a public servant to make sure they service everybody in the district. When I'm going into the schools to de-escalate with the racial tension, because kids are trying to kill each other over something as stupid as skin color, yes, that's my responsibility. When I'm going into different homes and I'm talking to these families who are praying with them and breaking bread with them, and they're talking about how they lost their children and how they honestly don't even want to vote Democrat anymore. But when they are requesting for GOP and the Republicans to come, the Republicans do not show up. And they say we have no choice but to vote Democrat or don't vote at all, and we still stuck, YG. We're trapped here because they don't give a damn about us. And I said, you know something? On some aspects, you're right, because that's what is shown. But let me tell you deeper, there are more people that care about you and don't give a damn about skin color. But this is the job of a public servant, is to be able to bridge that gap. It doesn't matter which side of the district we are on or what we look like. It is our job as public servants to serve the public. That's what I'm doing. And if you need the receipts, you can always go to my website, ygforcongress.com. Go to YG in the community. You see, I ain't scared to talk about it. I will show you what I'm doing. It ain't about talking platitudes, as politicians say. Let's be public servants and be about the work.
Well, I mentioned that I'm originally from Michigan, and I moved here for a job in Gwinnett County Public Schools. I've lived in Gwinnett County 27 years. I've lived here longer than I lived in Michigan, the majority of my life. I was a Gwinnett County Public School teacher, so I was very invested in all of Gwinnett. My kids went to Gwinnett County Public Schools. I had one son in band, one in sports, and we traveled all over. And I think, we share the same concerns. All Gwinnetians are suffering from inflation at the grocery store, at the gas pump. I see the same problems here that I see over where I live in Lawrenceville, that a lot of green spaces are disappearing. One of my issues that kind of separates me and may put me in good stead at the general election is I want to protect the environment. I see in my neighborhood, and I see driving around here, a lot of out-of-state license plates. A lot of people are moving from blue states to red states for freedom. And at that expense, what's going to happen in Georgia? We have a beautiful state. What's going to happen? Is that really good in the long run for Georgia? If they come here for freedom, we lose all of our beautiful natural green spaces, and then they leave. What are we left with? So I think that, living in Gwinnett, I share the same concerns as South Gwinnett, North Gwinnett, where I live, and definitely want to fight for them and help improve it for all Gwinnetians. Thank you.
Michael, you're up. This is also a regional question. John Street residences and businesses have struggled since forming our city with the fact that the U.S. Post Office does not have a location within the city. Due to this, most who live in the city have to use Alpharetta to
Absolutely, yes.
That's a yes for me too. I certainly like the convenience of having a post office in my hometown.
And as a resident of Johns Creek, of course, I would say yes. You know, we incorporated in 2006. There's 83,000 of us that now live in Johns Creek. It's incredible to me that we don't have a post office. I've lived all over the country and some places around the world as well. And I just remember living in one town which was much, much smaller than Johns Creek. And our post office was in the grocery store. And you know what that post office did? And this is why this issue is important to me. So I would fight like mad to get a post office here in Johns Creek. That little grocery store post office became the hub of community activity. You got to know your neighbors. A lot of us don't even know who we live next to anymore. So that post office, it's more than a stamp on a letter. It's a building of a community, and that's why I would be so much for it.
Did you send in that question?
Mary West, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Matrix.
Mary, you're up. So, this is pretty direct. How will we avoid a recession?
Wow. I'm stumped because don't look at me like that. I see our economic crisis as coming from so many different places. It's coming from our Federal Reserve system that we use. It's coming from Congress by spending way too much money. I can remember before I moved, when I moved from Gwinnett to West Fulton County, West Atlanta, it's for my kids to go to school there, the gas prices went up really, really high, and the shelves, or the food at the grocery store went up. And we were told, oh, it's just transportation prices. They're going to go back down, the food's going to go down. It never did. And then it's kept going up and up and up. I am not an expert on money. I did not go to money school. I am good with my checkbook. I'm very good with my checkbook, and I'm very good to making sure that I don't overspend. However, when it comes to economics and finance, I will go to others to ask them, and I will study hard and research what it is, because this is not my bailiwick, but I am affected by it, and all of us are, and we are all suffering.
All right, I'm going to tell you something that you're not going to want to hear. We got to stop spending. It's going to hurt. I know politicians are supposed to inspire you and tell you all the things that make you feel good, like you got a rainbow in your stomach, but I'm just saying, we got rocks in our stomach right now. We have got to stop spending. Now, the crazy thing is, we also got to look at and itemize, what are we spending stupid stuff on? Stupid stuff to me is if you can sit there and every time there's a crisis around the world, we don't have money for our own individual citizens, but yet we can get $14 billion to go somewhere else. We have to stop spending. We don't have money to help our veterans, who are the majority of the people who are homeless and sleeping on the street, to get them some help, but yet we have money to go to other places. We got to stop spending. We got to start focusing on what we need and cut the garbage. Now, a lot of this money comes from these bills that's added in the pork that people have in their and they go to their different states and they get their particular cuts and they put their money in their different accounts across seas. I'm telling the quiet part out loud. We have to stop spending. It's real simple. It hurts, just like we balance our checkbooks and we tell our kids, no, you can't have that car. Or unfortunately with some husbands who are still married, so I'm sorry, sweetheart, you can't buy that. It is what it is. We have to stop spending. And I'm going to say this one more time in case for the people in the back, if you didn't hear. We have to stop spending, tighten the belt. Yeah, it hurts, but just like in our own homes, when you have to take back command of your finances, you do what is necessary. You live on less, and you stop casually spending. That's the issue. That's the answer. Stop spending.
And I'll repeat that, stop spending.
Stop spending.
I mean, this reckless, irresponsible spending. Biden's already passed $2 trillion bills. And I don't know if you heard the news today, but his proposed Biden's budget is going to increase taxes by $2.5 trillion in new taxes. And I'm never going to forget that it's our money that we're spending. The act that, it just comes, it's magic, and just keep this reckless, irresponsible spending. We need to lower taxes, not increase them exponentially, and be more fiscally responsible. I actually do like economics. I remember I got a 4.0 in college and wrote my blue book all the way through, and she asked me, my professor, would you like to change your major to economics? I didn't, of course, but it's something that we all feel. We all feel the effects of inflation, of taxes. Look how much money you don't get in your paycheck. And so I am all in favor of stopping this reckless, irresponsible spending.
And Tom, will you repeat that question? And it's not because I don't know it, but I want the audience to hear it one more time.
How will we avoid a recession?
The key word there is the word avoid. The answer is we won't. We've always had the ups and downs of our economy. Sometimes it's a recession. Sometimes it's the Great Recession. Sometimes it's a depression. So we'll never avoid it, but we certainly can put things in place so that the pain that we would feel from these cycles is a heck of a lot less. Our debt now is $30.5 trillion. Think about this. Last month, it just crossed $30 trillion for the first time. We've already added $500 billion to that debt in less than a month. This is a form of taxation to our children without their representation. And there's no way that that generation will be able to pay for it. We've had no meaningful discussion in Congress in regard to our fiscal irresponsibility. I would have said no to the big spending bills. And by the way, I was vocal when Donald Trump signed a $3.1 trillion omnibus bill back in November of 2019. You can see it directly on my Twitter feed. So it's not a partisan issue. We, as I said earlier, are the party of smaller government and fiscal responsibility. We need to get back to those principles. I have an accounting degree. I know what it's like to balance a budget, and I know what it's like to be able to create opportunity. So this spending has to stop, and we have to do a better job of teaching our kids to live within their means, not above them.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Mark. I don't know if it's completely unavoidable to avoid recession, especially with everything that is happening right now. We have to stop irresponsible spending. I think we can all agree on that. The biggest thing that I think is going to potentially cause a recession is if we're all reminded back during the last Great Recession